Okay. No. Okay. Now let's further explore how you have handled some situations that you experienced in your life. Describe a situation in which you use both logic and intuition to solve a problem or discover an opportunity to help an organization meet its goals.
Well, this past summer, while working at my internship with Ross Management Company, I identified an opportunity to reduce costs and increase effectiveness of the monthly newsletter. As a property management company, we manage the homeowners associations of luxury high-rises in the Dallas area. One of the company's goals was to make a more significant impact that would improve their relationship with their HOA members. And during my first week of working there, I was assigned the task of making all the copies of the newsletter on the company letterhead and then placing the letters in company envelopes. This task took me the entire day, and I wasn't able to start any additional tasks. I came up with the idea of distributing the newsletter electronically instead of by snail mail. I went to the accounting department the next day and requested the cost data of the letterhead and envelopes used for distribution. I added in the labor cost of doing the work and came up with the cost figure. If we switched to distributing the newsletter electronically through email, we wouldn't have to incur the cost of developing the newspaper on letterhead and using our company envelopes, and we would still be able to effectively communicate with the members of the HOAs. And so I presented my idea to my boss, who then took it to the president to see what he thought of it. And I was called into his office that day, and he expressed his deep gratitude for my innovativeness in recognizing a way to improve a method of achieving a company goal. And we received positive feedback from several members of HOAs expressing their liking of being able to pull up the newsletter on their mobile device, such as their BlackBerry or iPhone, instead of having to wait until they checked their mailbox when they came home from their busy day at work. So as a result of the positive feedback, the president gave me a $150 bonus on that month's paycheck. So I was very pleased with that, but I was proud of being able to come up with an innovative idea myself to improve the company.
Give me an example of a time when you were criticized in public. How did you respond to the situation?
Well, last year I worked at a youth soccer camp during the summer, and I left to drive to the camp at the same time that I left the previous 3 mornings, and that day I ended up getting caught in a traffic jam, and I eventually discovered that it was due to a small accident a couple miles up the road, and I had never encountered an accident or traffic on that particular street, so I was very I was very distraught by this, and I attempted to get a hold of the head coach running the camp because I was mad at myself for being late, and his cell went straight to voicemail, but I left a message, and I ended up being 20 minutes late to the camp that day. And during our first water break, all the coaches and the head coach were gathered together talking, and the head coach actually criticized my being late in front of all my fellow camp coaches. And I was embarrassed at first, but I decided to focus on how to resolve the situation. I immediately took responsibility for my actions and accepted the consequences, and I apologized for my tardiness, and I informed him that it was due to a traffic accident and not to me waking up late. But I told him that I should have been more proactive and checked the traffic station on the radio before leaving so that I could possibly have been informed of the accident before so I could take an alternate route, and then I would do so the next time I came to the camp and each following day. And I also offered to come in early and stay late after each remaining day at camp to help set up and help clean up. And he ended up being very understanding of the misfortune of getting stuck in traffic. And at the end of camp that day, when everyone had left, he told me that he was impressed with my calmness in handling the confrontation in front of the other coaches.
Tell me how you manage stress.
Well, first of all, I try to prevent stress from happening. I try to be proactive in my planning and time organization, but stress has entered into my mind before, and it usually does if I have a long list of tasks that I need to accomplish in a very short amount of time. I try to keep focused on my goals, though, and I strive to keep any negative emotions out of my mind if stress does creep into my mind. And I temporarily switch my thinking to the present instead of worrying about the future, because that only causes more stress because you're not actually accomplishing anything if you're just worrying about what's going to happen in the future. So, for example, last semester, as school was approaching its close, I had a large amount of projects that were going to be due and test dates that were coming up. And I was worried about being able to accomplish all these tasks at my high quality standard. And I could feel the stress approaching, so I took out my planner and I had all my assignments written in it, and I went through and made mental checklists of each task, and I assessed what I'd done for each assignment and how close I was to completing it and the time that was required to finish it. And after doing this, I revised my planner and added specific and reasonable goals for each day that would allow me to complete everything on time at a high level of quality that I'm used to meeting. And my stress of worrying about the volume of coursework immediately pacified because I had specific action plans to meet all of my goals.
You've given me a good review of your background and experience. I've enjoyed talking with you and appreciate your sharing this information with me. It will be of value to us when we make our decision. What would you say was your most valuable asset?
Well, my greatest asset is probably my proactive nature. I always assess what I can do to be ahead of the game when pursuing opportunities. For example, when I decided that I wanted to play collegiate soccer, I started contacting coaches months before the typical date that players begin to express interest in universities. And because I started so early, coaches were able to devote more time to considering me for a position on their team, and that can actually translate into a higher athletic scholarship because there's more money to be given out at the beginning. And I had coaches come in to watch me play months before other players on my team even started contacting them. So due to my proactive planning and commitment to getting my name out there, I verbally committed to Xavier University at the beginning of my junior year in high school and secured a high amount of athletic scholarship. So being proactive and pursuing opportunities is a personality attribute that I am proud to say that I have and display on a daily basis, and I will show the same drive in enhancing Mass Mutual in any way possible.
Thank you for meeting with me. I'm going to discuss your credentials with the rest of the recruiting team, and we will follow up with you in about a week. Do you have any questions?
Yes, I do actually. I'm about to start registering for classes next semester, and I was wondering if you had any specific recommendations for any classes that I should enroll in that would help better prepare me for this internship.